As to those that have tasted of the fruit of man's earthly existence, which is the recognition of the one true God, their life hereafter is such as we are unable to describe. The knowledge thereof is with God alone, the Lord of all worlds. Baha'u'llah. Death proffereth unto every confident believer the cup that is life indeed. It bestoweth joy and is the bearer of gladness. It conferreth the gift of everlasting life. Baha'u'llah. So now I'll introduce our speaker for today, and just a reminder to save your questions until after the talk when we'll have our Q&A session. And if you're new to the Baha'i Faith, or if you'd like to be added to our mailing list, you can fill out the Google form that I will put in the chat and the YouTube description box. Our speaker this week is Dr. Haideh Sabet, and her topic is What Comes Next? A Baha'i View of Life After Death and Burial. Dr. Haideh Sabet is a neurologist in private practice in Alexandria, Virginia, and an associate professor of neurology at Georgetown University Medical Center. She graduated from Cornell University with distinction with a BA in the biological sciences and completed her medical school at the Mayo Clinic. She then attended Georgetown University Medical Center for her internship and neurology residency and helped establish and completed the first accredited neurophysiology fellowship program there. She is a member of the Spiritual Assembly of the Bahá'ís of Fairfax County East and lives in Alexandria with her husband and son. And with that, I'll hand it off to Dr. Sabet.
Thank you so much, Bayan. I would love to thank all of the organizers of this forum for giving me the opportunity to speak about this very humbling topic and a very profound one, a Baha'i view of life, death, and the journey of the soul. And I say A because there are many perspectives on this topic, and so I will try to share as many of the quotes on this topic that I could find to encourage each of us to search for the answers for ourselves. As you may know, there is no clergy in the Baha'i faith. No one is ordained. No one speaks the word of God except when directly quoting the holy writings. And so it's the prime responsibility for each of us to investigate truth for ourselves and to apply the teachings of the faith to our lives. One way that Baha'is around the world are helping to grow ourselves spiritually is by adhering to the fast, which is happening right now. It is a designated time in our Baha'i calendar that we abstain from food and drink from sunrise to sunset. And this is a time that we hope to concentrate on our spiritual well-being and get ready for the new year, which is the first day of spring, and to reprogram ourselves to more align our lives and our actions and our thoughts with the actions and thoughts of one who is here to share the beautiful eternal principles that is part of our spiritual heritage, that each of us is linked with that indissoluble bond between our Creator and ourselves, and to hopefully render service to the world to make it a little happier, a little brighter, and a little more peaceful. That is the goal of the Baha'i Faith. There are three main spiritual principles of the Baha'i Faith that we all adhere to, and that is the oneness of God, the oneness of humanity, and the oneness of religion. And so we believe that from time to time, there have been messengers that have come and shared the message of God with the people of the time in different books, in different languages, among different cultures. And as long as humanity has existed, there has been a need for a divine teacher. And so Baha'is believe that at this very special time in humanity's existence, that person is the person of Baha'u'llah, whose name means the glory of God. And I will be sharing his quotes throughout this program. His eldest son was named Abdul Baha, It was actually a title that Abdu'l-Baha gave to himself, which means servant of the glory. Can you imagine? The eldest son of a messenger of God chose the name of servant of the glory to show his devotion to his father, his dedication to the human race, and how much service is emphasized in the Baha'i faith. He is considered the center of the covenant and the exemplar to whom all Baha'is turn in times when we wish to know, how can I demonstrate those spiritual virtues and reveal them in action? All we need to do is turn to the many stories that we can read about his life and how he endured 40 years of imprisonment as a result of the message of his father's delivery in a time and a place that is still plagued with so much suffering to today. And that is the birthplace of the Baha'i faith, which is Iran. And so I turn all of my energies, and hopefully all of us turn our energies together in this very difficult time in that country right now. So one of the most profound questions that every human being eventually asks is, what happens when we die? Is death the end of existence? Is it a doorway to another reality? And if so, what does that reality look like? And we have had different perspectives on this throughout humanity's existence, because from time to time, we were encouraged to remember that spiritual heritage of ours. We were encouraged to remember to say our prayers and to fast as two pillars of our faith. And so that has continued in this spiritual heritage. And so we are now asked to remember, how is it that we should lead our lives? And what is there for us? Is this the end, or is there yet another world? And so across cultures and religions, humanity has searched for the answers to these questions. And so it is up to each of us to dig in deeper, to look into ourselves, to look into the holy writings that have been offered to us through the ages, and to come to better know the true meaning of our lives. The Baha'i Faith offers a deeply hopeful and spiritually profound understanding of life, death, and the destiny of the human soul. In the Baha'i view, death is not extinction. It is not darkness. It is not the end. Rather, it is a transition, a passage from one stage to another. Just as birth into this world of existence was a transition for each of us. And to understand death, the Baha'i writings tell us that we must first understand life. What is the purpose of our lives? Why are we here? Why has humanity been endowed with a conscience, with intelligence, with love, with the capacity to reflect on its own existence? And Baha'u'llah answers this question with remarkable clarity. He says, having created the world and all that liveth and moveth therein, he, God, chose to confer upon man the unique distinction and capacity to know him and to love him. And according to the Baha'i teachings, that central purpose of life is spiritual development. Life is part of the education of our souls. And during our time on this planet, we are meant to cultivate the spiritual qualities that best reflect the attributes of God. Qualities like love, compassion, justice, humility, patience, generosity, and truthfulness. These are just some. These qualities are not temporary achievements. We don't reach a state of perfection. In fact, Abdu'l-Baha, his son, Baha'u'llah's son, has said that there are worlds of perfection that we can try to attain. These are eternal capacities of the soul. Abdu'l-Baha explains, the purpose of life is the acquisition of virtues. And by the way, although the world may tell us that material things are of value in this life, in fact, the world is considered a world of dust in the faith. And material things, as we all know, do not accompany us beyond the grave. Titles, wealth, possessions, they all remain behind. But those spiritual qualities that we develop become treasures of the soul, the capacities that we can carry into the next world. And so the Baha'i Faith teaches us and affirms that every human being possesses an immortal soul. This soul is not the body. It has no physical substance. Baha'u'llah states, "Know verily that the soul is a sign of God, a heavenly gem, whose reality the most learned of men hath failed to grasp, and whose mystery no mind, however acute, can ever hope to unravel." And so the soul is something mysterious, exalted, sacred. While we live on earth, the soul expresses itself through the body, but the soul is not dependent upon the body. Abdu'l-Baha states, "The soul of man is exalted above and is independent of all infirmities of body or mind. And when the body becomes weak, which it will, the soul is not diminished. When the body dies, the soul does not perish. Instead, it continues its eternal existence." Baha'u'llah writes, "Know thou of a truth that the soul, after its separation from the body, will continue to progress until it attaineth the presence of God." This journey continues beyond this mortal life. And as we go through life, we are given many prayers to help raise our spiritual awareness and to help nourish our souls every day. We are blessed with over 100 volumes of writings in Baha'u'llah's own handwriting that we can see. One quote that you will see at the beginning of many Baha'i prayer books is as follows. It states, "Intone, O my servant, the verses of God that have been received by thee, as intoned by them who have drawn nigh unto him, that the sweetness of thy melody may kindle thine own soul and attract the hearts of all men. Whoso reciteth in the privacy of his chamber the verses revealed by God, the scattering angels of the Almighty shall scatter abroad the fragrance of the words uttered by his mouth, and shall cause the heart of every righteous man to throb. Though he may at first remain unaware of its effect, yet the virtue of the grace vouchsafed unto him must needs sooner or later exercise its influence upon his soul. Thus have the mysteries of the revelation of God been decreed by virtue of the will of him who is the source of power and wisdom. If you heard, there was mention of the scattering angels. And although we may not see the angels as we see in the Sistine Chapel and we think of them with wings, when we talk about those angels, they not only exist in a spiritual sense to leaven the world of being from the spiritual realm, but they also live among us. Have we not met them in our lives? Have they not been a source of strength to us, an example of virtue, a beacon of hope for those who cross their path? The Baha'i writings state, those souls are intended who are entirely freed from the human world, transformed into spiritual, celestial spirits, and have become divine angels. Such souls are the rays of the sun of reality, who will illumine all the continents. Each one is holding in his hand a trumpet, blowing the breath of life over all the regions. They are delivered from human qualities and the defects of the world of nature, are characterized with the characteristics of God, and are attracted with the fragrances of the merciful. Like unto the apostles of Christ, who were filled with him, these souls also have become filled with his holiness, Baha'u'llah. The love of Baha'u'llah has so mastered every organ, part, and limb of their bodies as to leave no effect by the promptings of the human world. In fact, Baha'u'llah states that every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God is endowed with such a spirit as can instill new life into every human frame. That potential lives within each of us. Each of us has the potential to be those scattering angels. There is no hierarchy in the faith. This soul is noble and is inherent in each of us and is entrusted to each of us to allow for its development in this world. And when these souls pass, perhaps you have shared with others the following: if there is a heaven, surely they have reached it with open arms. Have we not said that about people we love, about people we have enjoyed their presence, we have shared with them, we have honored their lives, and we have walked with them to see their lives inside and out and know that they truly are from another world? Have we not felt their presence in our lives after they have passed? Have they not continued to inspire us as we move through this life with all its challenges and difficulties? Have we not invoked their help? This is something that human beings have done for all of its existence. Abdu'l-Baha states, "The holy souls who are free from the ties of this mortal world and attain the confirmation of the Holy Spirit, although they live on earth, yet verily they are heavenly, illuminated, spiritual, divine. Such souls must appear and engage with simplicity, freedom, and purity in training the public and in guiding all people. If such souls arise, the Holy Spirit will aid them. The hosts of the heavenly angels will render them victorious. The bounties of the kingdom will surround them with the rays of the sun of truth. The breezes of the paradise will give spirit. The ocean of favors will boil, and the good scent of the fragrances of holiness will perfume the nostrils of the inhabitants of the world." And so, if this soul continues to live, then what is death? In the Baha'i writings, death is described not as an enemy, but as a moment of transformation. Baha'u'llah gives a striking description. In the hidden words, he says, "I have made death a messenger of joy to thee. Wherefore dost thou grieve?" If someone were to observe an unborn child, this child would not understand why it is creating eyes, why it is creating limbs, why it even has a beating heart. That child cannot imagine the world it is preparing for. Similarly, in this world, we develop spiritual capacities, faith, love, wisdom, forbearance, compassion. These are the organs of the soul, which will be needed in the next world. And so death is therefore birth into a greater realm of existence. So what is the next world like? You know, in the writings, it is said that God is an unknowable essence, that the soul is also unknowable. The nature of the world beyond is something that cannot be fully described in human language. Baha'u'llah writes that the nature of the soul after death can never be described, nor is it meet and permissible to reveal its whole character to the eyes of men. But the writings do give us some insight. We are told that existence continues in countless worlds of God. Baha'u'llah states, "The worlds of God are countless in their number and infinite in their range." This soul continues to grow and progress towards reaching the attainment of its creator. Life after death, therefore, is not static. It is a continuing journey of spiritual growth. In many religious traditions, heaven and hell are imagined as physical places. In the Baha'i writings, they are understood differently. They are spiritual conditions of the soul. And Abdu'l-Baha explains this simply and beautifully. He says, "Heaven is nearness to God, and hell is remoteness from him. A soul that has developed love, faith, and spiritual understanding experiences joy and closeness to God. A soul that has neglected spiritual development may experience regret and distance from God. And yet, the Baha'i writings also emphasize that God's mercy is infinite. Even after death, that soul that may have strayed can continue to advance. And so Abdu'l-Baha says the souls of the believers can progress in the next world. It is said the progress of the soul does not come to an end with death. It rather starts along a new line. Baha'u'llah teaches that great, far-reaching possibilities await the soul in the other world. Spiritual progress in that realm is infinite, and no man, while on this earth, can visualize its full power and extent. Baha'u'llah has stated, if any man be told that which hath been ordained for such a soul in the worlds of God, the Lord of the throne on high and of earth below, his whole being will instantly blaze out in his great longing to attain that most exalted, that sanctified and resplendent station. In another passage, he states, blessed is the soul which at the hour of its separation from the body is sanctified from the vain imaginings of the peoples of the world. Such a soul liveth and moveth in accordance with the will of its Creator, and entereth the all-highest paradise. The maids of heaven, inmates of the loftiest mansions, will circle around it, and the prophets of God and his chosen ones will seek its companionship. With them, that soul will freely converse and will recount unto them that which it hath been made to endure in the path of God, the Lord of all the worlds. In another passage, he says, know thou of a truth that the soul after its separation from the body will continue to progress until it attaineth the presence of God in a state and condition which neither the revolution of ages and centuries nor the changes and chances of this world can alter. It will endure as long as the kingdom of God, his sovereignty, his dominion and power will endure. It will manifest the signs of God and his attributes, and will reveal his loving kindness and bounty. And so, what is our connection with those who have passed? As we know and as we feel, love continues. That bond between the living and the departed does not end at death. The Baha'i writings explain that prayers offered on behalf of those who have passed away can help their spiritual progress as well as our own. He states, the condition of those who have died can be improved by prayers and supplications. Acts of kindness or charity performed in their memory can also benefit them and us. In this way, there remains a spiritual relationship between the two worlds. Although this soul continues on its journey, the Baha'i teachings emphasize the great respect for the human body, the temple of the soul. The body has been the instrument through which the soul has expressed itself in this physical world. And for this reason, the Baha'i Faith prescribes dignified and simple burial practices. As you may be aware, there are no rituals in the Baha'i Faith. It is practiced in the most beautiful and most diverse culturally, in such a way as to share the spiritual joy of that progress from this physical world to the next. There have been several principles that guide Baha'i burial throughout the world. The body, as I said, the temple of the soul, is buried rather than cremated, reflecting respect for the physical form. Baha'u'llah has also established a law concerning the place of burial. He states, "It is forbidden to carry the dead a greater distance than 1 hour's journey from the city." Funerals are intended to be simple, dignified, and centered on prayer. For Baha'is above the age of 15, which is the age of maturation in the Baha'i Faith, a special prayer for the dead is recited. It is the only prayer in the Baha'i Faith meant to be recited in congregation. A burial ring is also placed on the finger of the deceased, bearing this beautiful, loving, profound inscription. It states, "I came forth from God and return unto him, detached from all save him, holding fast to his name, the merciful, the compassionate." These practices, simple yet profound, reflect a basic truth. Life belongs to God, and the soul returns to him. The Baha'i teachings ultimately present a vision of existence filled with hope. Baha'u'llah assures us that the soul of man is immortal, imperishable. Death, therefore, is not the end of our story. It is a doorway into a wider universe. Just as an infant is born into this world and cannot imagine the beauty and vastness of it, we cannot fully imagine the worlds that await our souls. But we are assured that life continues after death, growth continues, and love continues. Perhaps the Baha'i understanding of life and death can be summarized in 4 simple truths. The soul is immortal. Life on earth is reflective of a preparation for a greater world. Death is a transition and not an end. And the journey of the soul towards God continues forever. Baha'u'llah offers this beautiful assurance. He states, "Blessed is the soul which at the hour of its separation from the body is sanctified from the vain imaginings of the peoples of the world. May each of us be devoted to cultivating the qualities that prepare us for that eternal journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sabet, for calling to our minds all these principles and insights we can glean about what comes next. So if anybody has any questions, we already have one. You can put them in the chat. Could you kindly assist us to understand when our souls come into existence?
Thank you for that beautiful question, because as is written in the Bahá'í writings, the soul, the human soul, begins at the time of conception. There is, however, a distinction between the souls of humanity, us mortal beings, and the souls of the messengers of God. That soul is one that has united the prophets and manifestations of God from the beginning of time. The breath of the Holy Spirit has entered, as has entered our soul, but has entered their souls from time immemorial and will continue to be brought into a physical existence from time to time, perhaps every 500 to 1,000 years. There has been the need for such divine messengers. This is a distinction between a messenger, the soul of a messenger of God, and the soul of us as human beings.
Another question asks, I'm navigating the passing of my mother, and I have a question about fate. There is an analogy of a lamp going out because its oil is finished, which cannot be avoided, versus a lamp going out because a wind blows it out. Does the second case suggest that the outcome could have been prevented as it relates to the death of a person?
Wow, that's really profound. I can only share my own very small thoughts on this. I'm sure there are many people who could probably share better than me. I see it as, these are times when our physical beings may just give way to the natural changes that happen in our body versus something that may happen externally to us that we do not have control over. The wind with the lamp, when the wind blows that lamp out, it could simply be something that is beyond our ability to stop. And yet, when the candle goes out because its oil has finished, it is simply the way that we may pass in what's called natural causes. So this is my small thought on that. And I am so very sorry to hear about the passing of your mother. But I hope that you can get consolation and solace in the fact that each of us have been endowed with that beautiful capacity to say prayers on behalf of our parents. And there is a very lovely prayer that you are welcome to perhaps you've read it yourself online, that you can read. And it says, in this great dispensation, we have been given the honor to say prayers on behalf of our parents and to ask for forgiveness on their behalf. What a beautiful honor it is that we can have the capacity to do this and have the holy writings to use as our guide, as our source of solace in such difficult times.
Thank you. Um, is there anything written about if cremation would affect the transition of the soul?
There is nothing, I actually looked that up. There is nothing specific in the Baha'i writings on this that I could find in the writings. It is a demonstration of the honor and the reverence that we place when we come from this world of dust, how we go back in its natural state in all the different, just as we were born, it took a process for us to be born. And there is this loving process that happens when we are, when our body is no longer alive. And just a few other parts to the Baha'i burial that I may have missed that I want to make sure that we know of. And that is, in this beautiful dispensation, it has been asked that we have a casket of a special kind, wood or crystal, and then we wrap this body lovingly. We wash the body and we wrap this body lovingly in at least one sheet of cloth. And that is such an amazing, when you read about it, I didn't mention his name, but the Bab was also a messenger of God who came before Baha'u'llah. And he asked his followers at the time, he made his declaration in 1844, and he was executed by a firing squad in 1850 in the cat ears of Iran, northern part. And he, in his holy book, he mentions that the body should be wrapped in 5 sheets of, in 5 whole sheets of white. And it can be silk or it can be cotton. And Baha'u'llah very lovingly changed this. He said that if it is not in one's means to be able to wrap the body with 5 sheets of cloth, 1 sheet is permissible. Think about how profound that is, to allow for each of us to have 1 sheet of cloth. That is all that we can provide for our loved ones. It just makes my hair stand on end. Think about that. That is an acceptable, a beautiful, a reverent, and honorable way that we can still share that love and that allow for that body to be one with the world again.
Thank you. Another question asks, what is the significance that the burial prayer is the only obligatory prayer that is recited collectively?
Yes. Again, I'm only going to share my small thoughts on this. As we all know, when we are born in this world, perhaps we are born just in a room with 1 or 2 other people, not many people there for us. And yet, over our lifetime, we share the joys and the sorrows, the fears and the courages, and those delights and sometimes the mishaps with others. And so it is only natural that after this soul has communed with so many individuals, that those individuals should honor that soul and do so in such a loving, reverent, kind, and dignified method as to come together and share a prayer. And I would love for each of you to be encouraged to read that prayer. It is profound. The way those verses are recited 19 times each, how we are asked to be patient in God, how we are asked to understand, to commune with our souls, to come to the realization that this person has moved to another stage in their existence is profound. That is a deepening in and of itself. Just the recitation of that prayer. So I encourage each of you to read that prayer and meditate on those words.
Is there another purpose in the teachings for us to unite with a soul family or a soul tribe? To unite in faith to accomplish more together during our time here on earth before we individuals advance to the next realm?
So thank you for that question. Um, Perhaps I may not be as well versed in what a soul family or a soul tribe is, because I see my neighbors as being a soul family. I see the people that I meet every day as walking with dignified souls. And when we do this, we don't have to simply unite with one individual, with one tribe, with one um, special way of thinking. In fact, the Baha'is are encouraged to share in fellowship with people of diverse backgrounds, with very different beliefs than our own. Because as we do that, we learn about ourselves. We learn how to listen. We learn how to love. And so we naturally become united. Those differences that we may see as surface differences among each other dissipates when we realize that each of us have goals to accomplish, have a nobility inside, no matter what we look like, no matter how we speak, no matter in what culture we were raised. Each of us is part of the soul family, the soul tribe of the world. In fact, in the Baha'i writings, it says that we should not be simply satisfied with being a lover of our own country, but rather a lover of the whole human race.
Is there anything written about if a Baha'i passes while crossing an ocean?
About a Baha'i passing while, yes, there is. Oh, thank you very much. Yes, that is a very, very good question because I looked it up. Yes. So in maritime, when we are at sea, it is best for us to find the closest plot of land within 1 hour of passing to bury our dead. So yes, there is.
Um,
If we can, that's what is asked of us. Yes.
and another question asks about a new procedure, which is composting the body into the earth. Does that disrespect the soul?
There is nothing that is distinctly stated in the writings about this, but what I can say is just as we have naturally been born into the world, it is asked of us to honor the natural changes that happen to our bodies when the body is no longer living. And so that is the extent that I can answer that question.
Another question asks, as a neurologist, how do you think about the relationship between the brain and the soul?
Oh, wow. That's profound. I've thought about that quite a lot. And, I really respect my academy deeply because, as you may or may not know, our board exam and our academy is the American Academy of Neurology and Psychiatry. So there is, even our academy acknowledges that there is a connection between the brain and the mind. And I find that many times when we speak to a person with love, with kindness, we may not even have a treatment for this patient, but we give them our time and our care and our compassion. How quickly, and perhaps each of us, I have, how quickly our pain, our concern, our worry dissipates and sometimes may completely go away. Or to the astonishment of the physician, they find, wow, that person is cured. Now, some things we may not be able to cure, and we do need material means to make things better. We may need medication, we may need interventions. But to me, that shows that there is a spiritual nature to healing. There is a power of healing that goes beyond just the physical healing of the body. And so when we reach into that and we talk as one soul to another, we can effect a change in the human body. Even Abdu'l-Baha has said that a placement of the hand over the head or over the heart, it creates, and he says we have to be careful, it creates a mild effect on that person. But what I will say is, what has even more pronounced effect on our soul is when we speak to each other with kind words, when we truly care about each other, especially in times of sickness. We can have a much more profound effect than any physician we may go to.
Thank you. Another question asks, how might the Baha'i understanding of death change the way we live our daily lives on Earth?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, really, that's at the very beginning, I said that this is a humbling topic because even just the thought that everything that we have aspired to, everything that we hope and wish for in this world, in an instant, without our knowledge, without any warning, can all of a sudden be wiped away. I think it gives a very deep and meaningful and humbling quality to the actions, to the thoughts, to the way that we spend our 24 hours in a profound way. When we are reminded of our spiritual heritage, of the nobility of our souls that we carry in this world, I hope that it would allow for us to carry ourselves with dignity, to be mindful of our actions with others, and to remember that each of us have burdens, have cares, have pains, have feelings. And I hope that as we move on in this world, as we have been asked in the Baha'i writings, in our Baha'i faith to do, we are asked to read the writings in the morning and in the evening. In the morning to prepare ourselves for the day, and in the evening to reflect on our actions, to think how did our actions align with those eternal spiritual principles proclaimed by Baha'u'llah. And perhaps we may have fallen short, and that's what the next day is for. Thank you.
What advice would you give someone who fears death?
Wow. I think if we didn't fear the unknown, we're not human. Everyone is going to have some degree of fear of the unknown. But that is why it is asked of us to meditate on the Word of God, to meditate, to commune with our one Creator, to really look inside. When something is unknown, it becomes something that we fear. It's a natural instinct. When we see things happening around us, it is very natural for us to be fearful of what might happen to us. And yet we are assured that about 99, over 99% of what we fear doesn't happen. But I'll give you this. All of us are going to experience death, and each of us probably has already experienced that in our families, in our friends, in our loved ones, because that is the cycle of life. And so for anyone who is fearful of that, it's okay. It's natural. But what I would ask for each of us to do is to really reflect on the writings, how beautiful these writings are, how hopeful and how promising and how connected we can be with that spiritual realm. That those descriptions of heaven and hell have been put aside. They were for another time. They were for a time that humanity could truly not think in those heightened senses that we are now allowed to think. One of the spiritual principles of the Baha'i Faith is that we should be educated. We should educate ourselves. We now have the right and responsibility to educate ourselves about not only our physical world, but our spiritual world. So we have been entrusted with this responsibility. And so for any of us who are concerned about the unknown, make it known to yourself to the extent that you can. And we are all searching. We are all on the same path. We are all humbled by the same things. We will all suffer in this world. In fact, that is how we can nourish our souls and we can realize our true worth, our true dignity, and our true faith. As Baha'u'llah has said in the Hidden Words, with gold we test with fire we test the gold, and with gold we test our servants. And that has its own deepening on it. Think about the gold that we are tested with. But with fire we test the gold. We don't test the gold, just have it sitting out on the shelf and not do anything with it. If you want to test out whether it's gold or not, we test it out with the fire.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? One question asks, what resources can we provide to non-Baha'is so that they have a better understanding of our faith?
What books you said?
Books or resources?
Resources. What I'd love to share is that beautiful way that we say in our faith, and that is friends of the faith. We are all friends in this path. We all have something to learn from each other, whether we are in this faith or we are looking into this faith, whether we are standing side by side with our fellow Baha'i, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Zoroastrian, Buddhist, Hindu friends. We are all walking this path together. What I can share is Baha'i.org. It is a fantastic resource. It allows for us to understand the Baha'i world. It allows for us to reach into the holy writings, many of which have yet to be translated, by the way. So we have an ocean of writings. And so we are still actively translating many of them. But yes, that would be my main resource would be Baha'i.org.
Thank you. Well, it looks like those are all of our questions. So I want to thank you again for your talk, Dr. Sabet. I think this was a really good, deep exploration into what happens after death and, the spiritual significances of it all. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, Bayan.
So our speaker next week is going to be Dr. Habib Riazati, and his topic is From Division to Harmony, the Baha'i Principle of Independent Investigation of Truth. And again, these talks occur every Saturday at noon Eastern Time, so you can invite your friends and family. And again, if you're new to the Baha'i Faith or if you'd like to be added to our mailing list, you can fill out the Google form that I will put in the chat and the YouTube description box. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you all again next week. Bye.